Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. I want to talk about Eugene Goodman. Eugene Goodman is the Black man, the Black DC Capitol police officer who has been hailed a hero. He's been hailed a hero because Eugene Goodman has been given solo credit for saving democracy. Eugene Goodman has saved democracy by protecting the senators and congressmen that were inside the Capitol building when the crazy Trump supporters decided to bust in and go get everybody. And I just had a couple questions I want to ask Eugene Goodman. And I'm going to break some of this down on drboycetv.com. So go ahead and hit the thumbs up button, get comfortable. We're going to break this down in a few minutes right now.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones too late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to co-sign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, guys? My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. I'll tell you what, Eugene Goodman is an interesting guy. In that Eugene is in the national spotlight right now, and he's being given credit for stopping an angry Trump mob, an angry mob full of Trump supporters who were trying to go in and bust into the Capitol and do only God knows what. And I thought that was really interesting. And so the first thing I want to say is congratulations to Eugene and his family. The brother did his job. Let's start there. Let's start by saying this. The brother did his job, and let's give a round of applause for Eugene and his family, and thank them for serving their country. The brother did his job. Can we at least agree on that before we start talking about everything else? Can we at least agree that Eugene Goodman did his job? Eugene has been given credit for saving democracy by protecting the world from the crazy Trump supporters that were going to bust through and go speak to their representatives. and he held it down. My brother held it down. Good for him. Good for him. I want to start the conversation there so that when I start having the rest of the conversation, people won't think that I'm trying to hate on this Black man and say that he doesn't deserve credit for what he accomplished. Now let's dig a little deeper. So I read the Eugene Goodman story, and I saw some people I respect, like Sean King and others, who were putting up Eugene's story and saying, Eugene should be a household name. Eugene is amazing because he single-handedly protected the United States from a group of what can be described as terrorists. I mean, let's just keep it 100. You bust in the Capitol building, you're officially a terrorist. That's what you are, right? And I'm gonna tell you, I'm the kind of guy who becomes kind of the jerk in the room, though, because I'm the one who starts asking the questions that make people uncomfortable. Like my first question, and give me a yes or no if it's okay if I ask this question. Just give me a yes or no. I admire Eugene so much, I really do. I think it's so great. You're so brave. Good for you, brother. But why were you there by yourself? Why was one Black man being tasked with saving all of democracy? I thought that we had a defense budget that's about what? I think a brother said $11 trillion, about an $11 trillion defense budget. And you got one guy with a baton that's literally the only thing standing between an angry mob and all of Congress. Did y'all think that was a little weird? Just give me a yes or no if you thought that's a little weird. If you think it's okay if I ask that question. I am not, I swear to you, I'm not here to be a hater. I'm not trying to say Eugene doesn't deserve. Eugene deserves a raise, a promotion. He deserves a bonus. He deserves some time off. He deserves, he probably needs a little therapy. Give him what he wants. Give that man a bag of gummy bears to go with it because he did his job. So this is not about Eugene. This is about America. And this is about the world and me trying to figure out which version of the Twilight Zone am I living in right now? Like what happened? What happened to the space-time continuum that has put me in a place that can only be described as the Matrix? I do not. I mean, I'm gonna tell you. Here's what Boyce Watkins a year ago was not a very smart man. He was not a very intelligent man. And let me tell you why Boyce Watkins from 1 year ago was not a smart guy. A year ago, Boyce Watkins thought if you try to run up on the Capitol, you're going to be met by, about 300 armed guards who will blow your head off on sight. You're going to be met with soldiers, police officers, stormtroopers, Secret Service agents, ninjas. Like you're going to get met with, and all of whom have extra bullets that they're going to put in that ass for you thinking that you have the ability to run up on the Capitol. I don't know, and this is not. I don't think it would just happen if you're black. I just kind of assume this would happen to anybody, right? And and that's not what I saw. I saw these people breaking into the Capitol building, and the only thing standing between an angry mob and our entire democracy, if you were to hear some people online kind of describe it, and that's fine, I don't care. Give Gene extra credit. Like I have no problem with a black man getting extra credit. If he gets him a raise and promotion on his job, then God bless him. But I really just couldn't quite figure out how this brother ends up becoming the defender of all democracy. It just didn't make sense to me. It just seemed kind of weird and crazy. So that's one thing, in terms of my weird questions I'd love to ask Eugene Goodman. Now, the other interesting thing that Boyce Watkins would have thought a year ago, again, Boyce Watkins a year ago wasn't a very smart man. Some of y'all might still think he's a dummy, and that's fine. That's no problem. It's okay. There's a million people who will probably agree with you. Um, but the other thing that Boyce Watkins would have thought a year ago is that if all of our cities were being overrun during the summer of 2020, if a bunch of U.S. cities are being overrun by people busting out windows, burning down buildings, throwing Molotov cocktails at police officers, that there would be a penalty for that. That there might be some retaliation. That the police officers could defend themselves. Maybe I'm naive, but that's what I thought. I thought that when everything was being burned down and business owners were having their businesses destroyed and regular citizens walking the street did not feel safe anymore, I thought that there would be a response. There was no response. So the only thing I can conclude when I look at all this, when I look at how people ran up on the Capitol and they didn't meet an army, they met a guy with a baton who was probably sitting there thinking, y'all don't pay me enough for this. Like he's probably sitting there thinking, y'all don't pay me enough. I'm going to find me another job on Monday, right? And then I saw this summer where the police were standing by as people were burning down businesses and destroying property and stuff like that. It really tells me something about America. What it tells me about America is that the emperor has no clothes. It tells me that America is not as strong as it pretends to be. It tells me that America is not as secure as some might think. It tells me that as an American, I'm not as safe as I thought that I was. And so with Eugene Goodman, again, I want to just make sure it's clear that Eugene Goodman, I think he's a good guy. Now, let me just also make another thing clear. I would not have been doing Eugene's job. If I were Eugene, I would, don't get me wrong. I will gladly put my life on the line to defend my woman. If an angry mob ever came after my woman, then that's the battlefield I would die on. I would defend my woman against an angry mob. A beautiful black woman is worth defending against an angry mob. If an angry mob rolled up on my kids, that's another battlefield I would die on. I would defend my children against an angry mob, and I would gladly go down for that. If an angry mob rolled up into the black community in a black neighborhood and black men formed a militia and we were standing against the angry mob coming into a black neighborhood, I would defend that. What I would not defend is a group of racists being attacked by another group of racists. Like when I saw what happened in the Capitol, I saw racist against racist. I saw the rich bigots being attacked by the poor bigots. In the halls of Congress, you have a bunch of multimillionaires worth tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, who have been starving the American people for the last 8 months, starving you out, making you wait 8 months for a $600 check. Don't care nothing. Basically, that's their way of saying it. The French had that term in the French Revolution. It was let them eat cake. So for y'all, they don't even give you the cake. They like let them eat oxygen. Let them eat their children. Let them eat a piece of wood. There is no concern for the well-being of the American people from these congressional leaders who have been playing games with your children's ability to eat every month. And then on the other side, you got a bunch of Trump supporters, many of whom probably read at maybe a fourth grade level, and who are severely misinformed, who for some reason feel like this billionaire from New York City is their best bet for restoring democracy in America. That this billionaire narcissist from New York City is the best hope for the toothless redneck who drove all the way from the backwoods of Tennessee to go join the revolution on behalf of Donald Trump. I don't understand any of that. I don't. I don't get any of that. And I told you guys that I believe that this is not your fight as black people. This is not your fight. But I understand why Mr. Eugene Goodman ended up in the fight. I know why he's there, right? And I also know why I wouldn't be there, right? I know why he's there. I respect him, right? He's a veteran. He's a military veteran. Shout out to all the veterans in the room. You know, my daddy was a veteran. I have immense respect for veterans. He's a police officer. A lot of people hate cops. I don't hate cops. My daddy was a cop. You know, my daddy put his life on the line for a lot of people. He put his life on the line for strangers. I get that, right? But the thing about it though, that kind of makes me get off the bus a little bit, is that in Dr. Claude Anderson's book Black Labor, White Wealth, he talks about something that existed during slavery called meritorious manumission. And I've talked to you guys about it, so I'm gonna be brief. But just for those who are new, I want to encourage you to go research meritorious manumission. Meritorious manumission was it's similar to what's going on right now. Was the act of giving massive rewards and recognition to slaves who protected whites, right? That basically, if you wanted to gain favor from white folks, especially rich white plantation owners, you could earn your meritorious manumission by defending the very people who would never defend you. So I ask you this, and this is a kind of a jerk. This is going to make me sound like a jerk if I ask you this question, but we need to try to start practicing this little thing that most black folks don't believe in called equality and reciprocity, meaning fairness, meaning that they should love you as much as you love them. So I want to ask you a question that's going to make me sound like a jerk. Eugene Goodman damn near gave his life for members of Congress, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, and everybody else on down. Now, let me ask you this. Do you think that Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi would have gave their life defending Eugene Goodman or his family? Do you think that Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell, um, that they care one bit? If Eugene Goodman was sitting at home, let's say Eugene didn't have that good job on the Capitol, making that good money and everything. I'm sure they have good benefits and insurance and stuff. You know, Negroes, we like insurance. Um, and what if he didn't have that job? What if Eugene was at home with his family and he was writing to his representative and saying, my wife lost her job, and you guys have told me that if I leave my house, I'm going to die because of these viruses, but my children have this ugly habit of needing to eat every day. We can't feed them once a week. They're not going for that. Can you please, out of your multi-trillion-dollar budget, take a little bit of money, a little drop of that money that you're giving to your billionaire friends, and Nancy Pelosi, that $200 million that you're worth, and could you please send me and my family, the Goodman family, a couple of dollars just so we can we at least even hold some? Can we hold some? They say, can I hold something? Right? Can I just hold something for about 2 weeks to be able to get by with my family? Do you think that they would give their life or even give their money for Eugene Goodman and his family? Give me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no in the chat. Somebody says, do we really need to ask? Yeah, I think we need to ask, because a lot of times you can figure out the complex stuff by asking the very simple questions. right? You can highlight when you talk about white supremacy. Sometimes white supremacy is right in your face. You just don't see it, right? Or you can talk about a lack of equality, but the thing is that the inequality is right there in your face, but you don't see it. So by me asking that question, I'm laying out a very basic idea that is undeniable when it comes to the fact that I just proved to you that this inequality is very, very real. And that Eugene, as much as I admired this brother, or Eugene Goodman, I don't hate this guy. I think he did his job. Good for him. He was putting his life on the line for people that would never do the same thing for him. And so I guess you do it because it's your paycheck, right? You're a hired soldier, and I get that, right? But I think that the question I would ask is, why am I doing this all by myself? Why am I in the Capitol halls defending democracy all by myself? And now to just give you go full circle on that, I did do research and I found that the fire chief of the Capitol Police, I don't have his name in front of me, but he actually stated that before the fact they knew that the heat might get hot, and they said, we got Eugene Goodman here, and he's a good soldier. And Eugene's gonna fight to the death. But we need some backup. He did say we need backup. He said we'd like to get some National Guard troops in here, and for whatever reason, that was denied. Now I don't know if there, some people are saying this was all a hoax, this was all set up, this was all fixed, the fix was in. I'm not saying that that's the case. I haven't seen the evidence of that. But don't think that that this isn't possible. Don't think that this is not possible. There are people that have talked about. Has anyone ever heard the term false flag operation? Have you ever heard? Give me a yes or no if you've ever heard the term false flag operation. Now, I'm not saying this was a false flag operation. I am not on any level jumping out to any sort of conclusions on this. I just want you to consider all the possibilities. That's how you play chess. You don't always make the movie, but you got to know every move that could be made. And well, so basically, there are people that have stated, for example, in World War II, when the United States refused to get involved in the war, the British wanted the Americans involved in the war. There were some elites that wanted the Americans involved in the war, and there are some people who have argued. I'm not saying this is true now. I want to make sure I'm clear on this because Twitter's out here banning everybody now. They eliminating everybody who's not going along with mainstream media, and but there are people who've argued that we should have known about Pearl Harbor. There are people who've argued that Pearl Harbor, that there were some warning signs that Pearl Harbor was going to happen. There have been people that have made the argument that 9/11, there were warning signs that it was going to happen. Now, I don't know. Again, you can't rewrite history that way and be a Monday morning quarterback on all of this. But it's not as if it hasn't happened before. I can tell you with complete certainty that it's happened before. Why do you do something like that? Well, because if I open the door and I call off the defense and I leave with one guy with a baton to defend all of democracy, and I let the angry mob come in and do terrible things, and I've got footage of that because somebody was holding the camera. When Eugene was running, somebody was filming, right? Somebody was like, we got to get this on film. I don't know why they did it, but they did, right? If I want to make a case, pay attention now. Pay attention. This is not me telling you what happened. This is me telling you what could have happened. If I wanted to make the case that would allow me to go and not just ban the president of the United States from Twitter, but all of his supporters, all of his allies, to literally do a digital genocide, then this is the perfect scenario to allow me to do that. This is the perfect visual that justifies any behavior that would not have been justifiable last week. Do you get what I'm saying? Give me a yes or no. Not only give me a yes or no that you get what I'm saying, give me a yes or no if you understand that I'm saying this could have happened and not that it did happen. I need to make that clear because the internet's got these stupid people who will say, well, Dr. Boyce said that this is what happened. I didn't say nothing. I said this is what could happen. I'm laying out possibilities. Some people just too dumb. They need to stay off my page, man. This is a platform for intelligent black people, not people with two brain cells in their head. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you could, please hit the thumbs up, share, subscribe button, and follow us on different platforms because I'm sure we're gonna be on the run at some point soon. I think that black people have to kind of understand that when they get into this whole censorship thing, you next, black identity extremists, y'all next. Like now that they're turning this whole war on terror on domestic citizens, you next. Black people are you are next. Just make sure you know that. So whatever you say, you better make sure you're saying what they want you to say, or they're gonna come and they're gonna beat that ass for you getting out of line. So just know that you are next. They've already banned Louis Farrakhan. They're already going after people like Tariq Nasheed. They took Vicky Dillard. They snatched Vicky Dillard off the air right in the middle of her podcast just because she was talking about what happened in D.C. Vicky has never advocated for violence against anybody, but they're literally going after any and everybody who disagrees with the existing narrative. So let me just make this clear about Eugene Goodman. I want to make sure it's clear. I respect the fact that this brother is a veteran. I respect veterans. It's just my preference. I just think veterans are great. And anybody who doesn't like veterans should just, sit back and realize that you didn't actually go put your life on the line for other people or for your country. So you just need to sit down and be quiet. I respect veterans. Also, I respect Eugene because I don't hate all cops. I think some cops really want to do the right thing. I've seen cops die for perfect strangers. Most people can't do that. Not all cops are bad. What I am going to say, though, is that Eugene deserves to be rewarded at a very high level. They should write his family a $3 million check so that he never has to work again. He deserves all of that. But I think that Eugene should be asking questions, and I wouldn't be Eugene. I would never have been out there by myself doing that job all by myself. I would wonder, like, why don't I have any backup? And then, second of all, I would just basically conclude they don't pay me enough for this crap. So you can keep your little awards to yourself. Just write me a big check so I can go retire and get a job where I'm not going to be forced to defend democracy all by myself. So the last thing I'll say about Congress that's really interesting is that what's also fascinating about the whole rhetoric around this whole situation at the Capitol is that when people have compared what the riots that were occurring this summer with the riot that occurred on Capitol Hill, I've heard people say, yeah, that was just sort of in the street, and this was Congress. They were actually going after Congress. And I kind of get that, but what I don't understand is why we are so quick to conclude that that a congressman's life is worth more than your life or my life. Like, why are we quick to conclude that that the very people who were abandoning Americans to die of starvation should be the first ones that are protected? I don't understand why protecting Nancy Pelosi is more important than protecting Big Mama in the hood. I personally think they should all be protected, and so I think this idea that somehow dealing with a congressman in a negative way is somehow worse and more tragic than dealing with a regular citizen in an American, in an irregular or unfortunate way. I think that we have to sort of check that assumption. And also, to the day I die, I will just ask you this. Do you really think this is Black people's fight? Do you really think Black people have to even be involved in any of this, picking sides and everything else? I'm not. This is not. This is not our fight. This is not something that. The only time it becomes our fight is when they start coming out and they start banning Black people because we're not saying what they want to hear. But outside of that, I'm defending Black people. I'm not defending Congress. I'm not defending the Democrats. I'm not going to defend the Republicans. I don't care about any of that, because the other thing too is that when you look at it from a big picture perspective, and I go back to this. This is very important. I made this point before, and I want you to keep this in your mind. The radical left and the radical right are basically fighting against the same thing. They're fighting against inequality against economic inequality and political inequality. Those are two types of inequality that they're fighting against. Both the right and the left are angry because they've got a bunch of millionaire congressmen and millionaire people in the Senate and the House who are not handling or concerned about the needs of the American people. The people on the left are mad because of things like poverty and capitalism and big corporations making all the money, like big tech. Big tech is hoarding most of the money in this economy right now, and big tech is the same group that's also censoring people because they have a dissenting point of view. So the people on the left are mad about that, right? They go through the hood and they say, look at all this poverty, look at the way people are being treated, look at all this injustice. Great. Well, the people on the right, that like that toothless hillbilly who drove up from the backwoods of Tennessee, he might be a little misguided in thinking that this billionaire from New York named Donald Trump is going to be his best buddy. That's completely wrong, because Trump doesn't care about him. But he is right on one thing. He's right in the sense that America does not care about poor people. America does not care about the powerless. America does not care about the disenfranchised. So the same way that brother from the hood is being neglected, that toothless hillbilly from the backwoods of Tennessee is being neglected too, and he's pissed off just like you're pissed off. So if you want to know where I would go with this, I would say that the key idea that I would focus on is inequality and the hoarding of wealth and power by the elite. Right. So yes, you got a lot of this on the Republican side, where Mitch McConnell will gladly write a big check to a corporation, but won't write a $2,000 check to you. Right. That's certainly true. That's certainly there. But also on the other side, you got Nancy Pelosi, who's worth $200 million, and big tech, who's basically befriending the Biden administration by saying, we will use all of our concentrated wealth and power, the trillions of dollars in wealth, and the massive amount of power we have to control media. We will use that and become your digital army. We will exterminate your political enemies on your behalf as long as you allow us to get away with hijacking the liberties of American citizens and taking a bunch of their money with it, right? So that's why this Biden administration incoming, they are not going to challenge big tech for the fact that big technology has become an oligopoly. They become a cartel. They fit the description on every level, but they're going to have a bunch of hearings, and guess what? Nothing will come from those hearings. No discipline will be administered because they just basically went into a back room and made an agreement with government officials to kill their political enemies off. And the thank you that they're going to receive is that no one's going to ask any questions about Twitter or Facebook running ramshot with their monopoly and oligopoly power. It's no different from a cop who says, we need to go deal with the dope dealers in our neighborhood. So the cop says, okay, we're going to bring you in for questioning. And the dope dealer says, you know what? You've got another problem over here. You've got these enemies over here, this other group that's causing you problems. Let me slide. Let me just kind of let things go with me, and I'll go take care of your problem for you. So I'll go exterminate your enemies as long as you let me slang dope in the neighborhood and you don't mess with me. The government has done this before. They did this during Kennedy's administration. The part of the reason the mafia was allowed to run ramshod is because the mafia got together with some government officials to execute certain operations on their behalf, in particular, the assassination of Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King's assassination, which was studied by one of his best friends who spent 40 years looking into in detail, researching how did my friend get killed? What happened to my friend? I know it wasn't some lone gunman who was out of his mind. It was deeper than that. He wrote a whole book explaining in extreme detail how the federal officials like J. Edgar Hoover worked with the mafia to go and coordinate a 2-year plan to assassinate Dr. King and make it look like it was just some crazy white boy who just decided that he was mad that day. That wasn't what happened. So some of this stuff is real detailed and real interesting to watch. And I'm just telling you that the fix is in. And I'm telling you guys, like, I think at the end of the day, it's not just about the inequality piece. You got to be real careful about censorship. When they censor your enemy, they're only censoring your enemy long enough to eventually gain enough power to the point where they can turn around and then start censoring you. This is how wars are fought. But a lot of our people are not warriors. They just get into emotionality and go with the flow, and they're just trying to get white folks to like them. So I'm not talking to those black people. I'm talking to those who want to go to the next level and play above the rim, or those who are playing chess, not checkers. So all the chess players say "I." Raise your hand because this is deeper than what you might think. So that's what I'm seeing. That's my 2 cents. I'm out of here, guys. I'm gonna go take a nap. It's nap time. So please hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. And also follow us if you want to know about our Black Agenda. We have a Black Agenda that can be implemented by you and your family with a lot of free resources, free and low-cost resources that you can find at theblackagenda.com. Things like Ice Cube's Contract with Black America, which was very well done, written by scholars, and a lot of really smart people put this thing together. It's damn good. Also, there's the $5 a day investing plan. There's also plans related to, there's a link to my conversation with Nathaniel Jordan, the Minister of Health, to talk about how we can be healthier so that when little viruses just happen to pop up that happen to be taking our people out, we'll at least have immune systems that are strong, where we haven't spent our time thinking that it makes that obesity is body positivity. They promote obesity as if it's body positivity, and then you wonder why people are dying from viruses. Like, really? Do you understand that a virus can attack an obese person much easier than a healthy person. Y'all do understand that, right? So I think that Black people, the reason we have our own agenda is because I believe Black people kind of have to get off the grid a little bit. I mean, sure, we're on the grid in terms of digital connection. We talk to each other on technology and all that, and I'm going to do that until they shut me down. They're going to shut me down eventually, so let's just get ready for that. But until they shut me down, we should continue to use that. But getting off the grid also means getting off the grid psychologically and emotionally. I do not turn on CNN anymore. I used to respect CNN. I've been on CNN probably 200 times. I've been on Anderson Cooper's show more times than I can count. I've done all these networks, Fox, CNN, all that stuff across, MSNBC, all that. And I've become extraordinarily just stunned and so saddened by the fact that these places that used to hire real journalists. When I was at Syracuse University on the faculty, we had one of the best media schools in the country. It's called the Newhouse School of Media. And we would send these great journalists out, and I would meet former students at CNN all the time who, it was exciting, right? Because CNN would recruit some of our students. And then something happened. Something just happened in media where suddenly everybody just started telling these bold-faced lies and giving this crazy spin and all this other stuff. So now I kind of treat my media like I treat my food. If you give me food, I need to be the one cooking the food. I don't want you to cook the food and then feed it to me because you might be feeding me poison. And a lot of the media that you're getting across the board is poison, is propaganda. If you want to see where this country's going, go look at Russia and go look at China. Those are two places that are masters of propaganda. They are masters at lying to the public. They have strategies that they use to control specific groups of people. And that's what they're starting to do in America. And it's not going to change. So just be ready because that's what you're going to have in the future. Okay, so I'm going to go. Again, congratulations to Eugene Goodman. Brother, I hope they give you a raise, a promotion, and a bag of gummy bears and everything else you deserve. But again, if I were you, I'd be asking questions to make sure you have enough backup so they don't have you defending democracy all by yourself. Because I don't know how much they pay you, but they don't pay you enough to die for a bunch of people who would never die for you. That don't make no sense. So anyway, I'm out of here. Have a good day, everybody. And also, by the way, our Generational Wealth Conference is this weekend. So if you're interested in strategies on everything from taxes to real estate to credit to everything else in between, feel free to go to generationalwealthconference.com. The URL's on the screen. That's generationalwealthconference.com. We get started on Saturday and Sunday, and it's going to last all weekend. And so it's really good for those of you that want to learn a little bit more about aspects of generational wealth, from estate planning, wills and trusts, to insurance, to taxes, to stocks, to real estate. So feel free to join us, generationalwealthconference.com. I'm out. Have a good day. Hit the thumbs up button. Thanks for listening. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Voice TV. Here we are.